Hello, Newburyport. For those who don't know me, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Sean Gallagher, and I am the Superintendent of the Newburyport Public Schools. I've been an educator for almost 30 years, and I am a parent of 2 children. I approach my work as both an educator and a parent. 4 years ago, when I came to Newburyport, I had the chance to meet with hundreds of parents and guardians, along with teachers and students. I heard many wonderful stories about the work that was going on here. From award-winning theater programs, to hands-on science curriculum, to community-wide literacy festivals, the Newburyport community was proud of their schools. But we also knew there was work to be done. Parents and guardians, along with the students, were ready to make a change in the high school start time. Educators were hopeful for stronger voice at the decision-making table, and the community was excited to see a vision of engaging 21st century learning come to life. In my entry plan, I connected the ideas from the focus groups to the 5-year strategic plan that was written in 2016. It is now time to update that strategic plan, and to do that, my leadership team and I are once again listening to the feedback and dreams of the Newburyport community. Today I will speak to some of our accomplishments and some of our challenges. I will give you background on how we plan to update the strategic plan and share some economic and demographic trends that will impact how we educate our children. Let's begin with a little background on Newburyport. Newburyport is a small city with a population of about 18,000 people. What's very interesting, when we look at the data, 20% of the city residents are under the age of 18, and another 20% are over the age of 65. Newburyport Public Schools has about 2,300 students and about 480 staff across 4 different schools. Our approval budget for this school year is around $34 million, with 60% of the city's $74 million budget. About 80% of the school budget is investment in our greatest resource, our staff and our people. Those expenditures include expenses related to the special education, in buildings, and also operations. In 2015, the district went through a multi-day, multi-phase process to write a comprehensive strategic plan. An initial planning group of 40 educators, parents, guardians, administrators established a new mission, identified 7 key strategies, and defined our core values. In the follow-up work, 7 planning action teams were convened. Each team had about 20 members representing teachers, students, and parents. These action planning teams drafted specific actions for each strategy. The 7 strategies represented a broad range of areas where we will take action, from teaching and learning to social emotional supports to school operations, and our strategy is to continuously improve and grow. You will notice that each strategy begins with the word reimagine. Our strategy is not to be satisfied, to always be reimagining and asking, what will NPS do next? Our goal is for continuous learning and improvement. Our students, our learning community, and our systems. Since March of 2019, we have been managing our schools in what could be called a VUCA environment. VUCA stands for a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous time. It is a term that comes from the military, describes a situation of constant, unpredictable change that, because of the pandemic, is now the norm in education. VUCA demands that we avoid traditional, outdated approaches to planning and leadership and have the ability to remain flexible and creative in our responses to situations. As we begin the process for updating our current strategic plan, we keep in mind the concept of VUCA. We are also aware that it's not just the pandemic that is pushing schools to respond in new ways. The world is rapidly changing. So it is our approach to strategic planning that needs to be future-oriented. Amy Webb is a professor at New York University Business School and a strategic planner. She uses this cone graphic to explain how organizations can be future-oriented in their planning. Unlike a traditional timeline with rigid dates and check-ins, the cone always moves forward. As you gain data and evidence, as you make progress on your actions, the beginning of the cone is your tactical category is always reset in the present day. The result, ideally, is a flexible organization that is positioned to continually iterate and respond to external developments. Future-based planning. Successful organizations need to have the ability to adapt and not be stagnant. That is what we are shooting for in this planning process. In addition to needing to remain flexible and future-oriented, schools also need to examine the economic, environmental, and political demographic trends that impact the global economy. Gerd Leonard is a futurist, a person who studies trends and explores what skills and mindsets we will need to be successful in the future. In his short film, Change Squared, Leonard shows how rapidly advancement in technology are driving change in work, in how we learn, in how we live. As educators and parents, it is important for us to understand what these changes may be and how we need to prepare our students for ongoing changing world of jobs, economies, and technologies, and the challenges that our students and children will face. It is critical that our children's ability to successfully adapt to this constant change will impact their success. Leonard reminds us all, as the world is rapidly going digital and virtual, it is actually our humanity that needs the most attention. It will be our humanness which will make all the difference. I recommend you take a few minutes to watch Change Squared and to think about what skills your children may need when they graduate Newburyport Public Schools. You can find this on YouTube. To begin our strategic planning, we will be meeting with students and families and educators to identify a clear portrait of a graduate. A portrait of a graduate is a description of these skills, these mindsets, and knowledge that our students should have when they graduate. Our vision for a graduate should reflect on the future and not what just young people might need in 2021 to be successful, but what they will need in 2031 and beyond. Let me give you a little more information to think about. This generation, the children who students in pre-K to 12 now, are called Generation Z. Generation Z is anyone born after 1996. According to the Pew Center, Generation Z are the most racially, ethnically diverse than any other previous generation, as well to be on track as the most well-educated generation yet. And our digital natives who have little or no memory of the world as it existed before smartphones. In case you were wondering about your own generation, here is a graphic with the years. Of course, every generation has faced the challenges, but no generation has seen such rapid explosion of the technology growth. It is important for us to understand this as we begin to plan for the future of our schools. The World Economic Forum has been looking at trends in the global economy and using this information from employers to identify the skills needed for the future. You can see this on this slide. From 2015 to 2020, the jobs are demanding that people think flexibly and creatively. As you see in this slide, their prediction for 2025 is even more demanding for people who can think analytically, learn actively, and solve problems. From this, we need to ask ourselves, how are the Newburyport Public Schools preparing students for these new demands? As we move forward in the planning, there are already a few strategic initiatives that are in action. We are working on the operational budget to plan for free full-day kindergarten program. We are developing short and long-term technology plans with a one-to-one device strategy focus at the high school. We will continue to expand to support student social emotional learning and to provide a comprehensive in-district special education services for all students and families. And we are currently focused on the curriculum, instruction, and assessment of literacy across the district. And finally, we've launched a new college and career center at the high school and are expanding student access to internships. In the weeks ahead, we will continue to gather feedback, ideas from the whole Newburyport community. We will use this information to create a future-focused plan that moves Newburyport forward and fulfills our mission of being the port where tradition and innovation converge. I invite you to share your priorities with us by submitting your response to the survey. In my 4 years of leading the Newburyport Public Schools, I've come to recognize that what unites us is stronger than what divides us. As we move forward, it is important that we continue to focus on our shared goal of providing all children of the Newburyport Public Schools with an excellent education. I would like to take a moment to thank you all for your time. I look forward to hearing your thoughts as I continue to lead the Newburyport Public Schools.